So first off, sorry for the delay in the videos. I went away for a week, and then when I come back, as you can probably tell, I got laid up, so I've got a cold. That's only just about got good enough to be able to speak so that you can hear me clearly. So that's the reason for the sort of long gap between videos. In this video we're going to cover some Wpf animations. We're going to keep it short again, just because I've got a cold. I don't want to be coughing into the mic all the time, and then I'll just do multiple videos over the next few days in, smaller chunks. So we're just going to cover some basic animations in this video. So we've got the Falsetto word application. If we give that a quick run, I'm sure you'll remember it if you've been following the other videos. We've basically got the sign up screen done. We've got an email that you can enter, we've got a password that you can enter, and we've got a basic few buttons, and you can resize and move around and what have you. So now we're ready to do either the register page, or once you sign in, go to the other page. So we basically need to transition between two pages, and to do that we might as well now add some nice animations. So we probably want this login screen to maybe slide in from the right when it's loaded, and then when you click next, or when you click I have an account, it slides out that way and the next screen slides in or something. We'll do some kind of animation, we'll figure it out as we go. And then the same thing to get started, we'll just make this hover, like a smooth animation instead of just a snap. In WPF, as always, there's about 50 ways to do everything, so we'll show you one way. We go to the login page, we'll click this button. We know it's basically the default button style, so if we go to the buttons and we go to regular button, we've already got some triggers for mouse over and setting the property background, so we've got what we want here. We just want it slightly different. So instead of a trigger, you want an event trigger, and then it's called a rooted event instead of a normal event, and it's mouse enter instead of it is mouse over. So we're basically going to delete this trigger afterwards, but we're using this as reference. So mouse overs become mouse enter, trigger event from event, and rooted event instead of property. And then we will want to begin a storyboard. So in WPF, all animations should be done through storyboards. You shouldn't manually be changing properties to like resize things or move things. Use a storyboard, because that's hardware accelerated and heavily optimized and things like that. So a storyboard's basically an animation in WPF. So we begin the storyboard, and now we need to actually create the storyboard. So then we create the storyboard there. There's multiple types of animations you can do. You can do number animations, color animations. So if you type animation, you can see you've got Boolean animation, decimal animation, character animation. So there's a lot of different types of animations. We're changing the color, so we can't animate a brush to a brush like we've done here. So instead of setting the background, we're going to have to set the background dot color. So we use a color animation. We want the color to go to, and then we need the color, so we can basically copy this just without the brush at the end. We want the actual color. So we want it to transition to blue on hover. You've got the duration, which is hours, minutes, seconds. So we'll do 0.3 seconds. And then you need to do the, we need to get this, the target name. So it's an attached property in this case. So it's storyboard.targetName, and that'll be border. And then we will want what's left, the property. So we need to set the background, and this time we said we want to set the background color. So it's storyboard.target property background.color, I think it is, and then end the storyboard, end the color animation, and then we can delete this old one. So now it won't fade out yet because we've only got the enter, but let's just check that works. So we just run the project, and we should see it fade to blue. So you can see that was a nice fade, and now we've got to do the opposite. We've got to reverse the animation, if you will. So we can copy this event trigger, paste the whole thing, change it to mouse leave, change it to its orange by default, and that's it. So when it leaves, it should go orange. And there you go. So that's as simple as that. We've now got a nice smooth colour change animation. It just makes it that little bit nicer. We haven't done it to this one down here, but I can leave you guys to do that. Let's just change the different button styles. So that's one way of doing an animation. You can create the storyboard directly in XAML. You could create multiple animations that target multiple different properties and elements, and you can have them triggered on specific events. So there's one way of doing something. So that's the button ones. The next one's a bit more tricky. So what we want to do is we want this page to slide in and then slide out when it's done, but that's going to be a universal thing. We don't want it just on this page, and then when we've got 20 pages in the application, have to redo the animations. So what we want to start doing is making a base page that all other pages can follow, and in that base page we'll actually add the ability for pages to be animated in and out, or up and down, or grow or shrink, or whatever we like, but we're going to make a base class for the page so that all the function we add to this page is going to be available in all pages. So we'll start by making a new class in the pages, and we'll call it base page. Get rid of all the unused stuff. Base page for all pages to gain bit of a random comment, but that'll do. It's got to inherit itself from page. Right then, what next? We want we'll need a page animation in order to create multiple animations and then allow them to select what animation the page wants. So let's make a new folder first in the project. Let's call it animation. We'll add to this page animation. That's just going to be an enum of different types. Styles of page animations for appearing and disappearing. We will do, I think we'll do a slide in. So we need the animation for the slide in from the right, so it comes in from the right, and then when you go away you want it to slide out to the left. So we'll literally call it that. We'll just call it slide, and we'll do fade as well, so it looks a bit cleaner. We'll slide and fade in from right, and we will slide and slide and fade out to left. So one's like an in style, the other's an out. Page slides in and fades in from the right. So pretty self-explanatory, just an enum. Back to the base page, we'll make a variable of that, a property, page animation. And again, we'll need two. We'll need the page load animation, so what happens when it comes in. We'll default that to slide in from right. I know one thing we've missed. We need the none. The animation to play when the page is first loaded. The animation to play when the page is unloaded. And then for the unload, we'll do the opposite by default. We'll slide out to the left. Put this in a region. Then we'll want, as these animations grow, we'll want times, so you can vary the times. So with it being a base page, and I think the simplest way is just to have a property that can be a protected property, well, let's make it public, there's no real harm. And for this one we'll need, like, say, slide seconds. We want to know how long the animation, if you select a slide animation, it will take, and we'll need this information in order to know when the pages say loading. We need to know how long that's going to take, so that if we wanted to await that and then do something once it's in, fully animated in, we need that access to that known time. So we'll make that a property, and we will default it to say 1 second to slide in. Let's say 0.8 seconds. Oh yeah, there's a point. We need that to be a float. So that's what we'll do. And then you'll have these. If you do say a grow animation, you'd then have grow seconds as well. And it's up to the user to know if they select load animation slide, then they need to make sure if they want to change the time, they change the slide seconds, not like the grow seconds. The time any slide animation takes to complete. I think that's it for the properties, because we're only doing this one animation for now. We'll want the constructor. And then in here, we will want to know when the page is loaded. Chuck this in another region. This is once the page is loaded, form any required animation. We'll do that in a second. What else will we need? I think that's it for now. We'll well, if there's actually, in order to start an animation, so if we have any animation, we expect that it's not going to be visible whichever way. By the initially you need to start the animation so that it moves the element to wherever it needs to be. Then we'll make it visible. So basically, if we have if this dot page load animation isn't equal to none, then we'll make the visibility collapse to start with. So basically, totally invisible. So really, got to do that explicitly. Sometimes the IntelliSense is not intelligent. So if we are animating in hide to begin with, and you'll see why in a minute. So we hide if we've got an animation, which by default we're going to do the slide in. We then listen out for load. So then on load, we want to animate in. So we'll just say animate in, and then this function animate in. In fact, we'll make it a, why not? Just make it public. We'll do a task as well, so it can be awaited, so we know when it's complete. We can do that, so we might as well. This is not awaited because this is just an event, so we'll make it awaitable just to get rid of the error. Basically, then the animate in will check again if this dot page load isn't equal to none, or rather in this case, if it is equal to none, just return because we're done. There's nothing to do. So now if we get here, we know there's an animation to do. We should do then a switch on the load animation, and then this is where you can start adding all the ones you want to handle. So in this case, we're just going to handle the slide in from the right for now, and we will we'll make, tell you what we'll do, we'll make some, well, we'll do it directly in here for now, and then we'll make like a storyboard helper that can have animations like sliding in and fading in, and we can reuse them throughout the whole application then. So to start with, let's just hand type the animation. So similar to the WPF, you can do a, let me think about this. We want to create a new storyboard. And then in that storyboard, we need to slide from the right. So to do that, we first need a new animation. So we'll do slide animation as new. It is, so to slide from the right, we are going to set the page itself, the page's margin on the left hand side, to the width of the window. So basically this will shift all the way over there, and then we need to set the right margin to the negative of that so that it doesn't just crush in. So we're going to literally shift this page using a margin. So to do that, we will need a thickness animation. So create a new thickness animation, and we want to do duration is this dot slide seconds, and it is a duration. Which needs a time span. This is why we'll make a helper function, because otherwise this would be very long-winded. Time span isn't found. Right, so that was a long-winded way of just saying the seconds, whereas in XAML it was a lot shorter, but we'll make helper functions, so all this will be much easier. So we've got the duration. We need to go from, similar to before, and that is a new thickness, and then the margin goes left, top, right, bottom. So the left wants to be this dot window width, the top's nothing, the right is minus this dot window width, and the bottom's nothing. So that's the from. So we won't go from all the way out the screen to just a new thickness of nothing, so basically back to where you started. That's the from and the to. And then you've got something as well called deceleration ratio, which is like a speed of how it decelerates in. It's like an elastic effect. I always find 0.9 is quite a good slowdown of that. So we've created the slide animation, which will basically move from the outer of the screen to the inner. Now we need to tell it where that animation is used, because that's just the animation right now. In the XAML, you'll see we did this attached property, storyboard.targetName and storyboard.targetProperty. So they're attached properties. So in order to do an attached property and code behind, we need to access the storyboard itself, the actual static class, and we do set target name and set target property. So we'll set target property to the slide animation, and it's a new property path, and we want this to be the margin. And we don't need to set the target name, because the target name is ourselves, this page, so we don't even need to set that. And then we just need to add that animation to the storyboard. You'll notice I'm not commenting this, by the way, because this is going to move to a helper function in a minute. So storyboard.children.add the slide animation, and that will now slide in if we play that animation. So let's start with that. So now we just do storyboard.begin, and because we know we're waiting this long for it to complete, we can then do an await task.delay this dot slide seconds, and it's in milliseconds, so times 1,000, and it still doesn't like that. What's wrong with that? Time span? Really? What's a time span? No, it's not. Okay, maybe it just doesn't realise it's an integer. There we go. So then we await, so that effectively if somebody awaits this animate in, they know when it's finished. We know when we're animated in. So now if we overload this base page, not overload, sorry, if we inherit from this base page, when the page then loads, it's going to set itself to collapsed, so it's invisible. We're then, there's a point, we need to make sure we're not invisible once we start. So we need to start the animation, set it all up, begin. As soon as this begins, it's going to start from here, so it's instantly going to move, it's going to set the margin to that distance, so it's hidden. So as soon as it's begun, we can now unhide. I keep trying to comment, but I'm trying to resist. So now we just do this dot visibility equals, and then make it visible again, and then we let the animation finish. So we basically hide to begin with, start the animation so that the from part of whatever animation we're playing is all set up and everything's moved into position, then make it visible after we've started, and then wait for it to finish. So now that should happen. We should basically replace the login page. Oops, not open with. Replace the login page with the base page. So to do that, you've got to do it in two places. You've got to do it in the XAML and the code behind. So this becomes base page. And now this also needs to become base page, which is in the local namespace base page. And that's it. Just the designer tends to have trouble, but that's fine. And once you've cleared off and rebuilt a few times, that'll be fine. So if we run that, it should basically animate in from the right. Oh no. No target was specified. Okay, I didn't think we needed a target. Thought the target was obvious, it was ourselves. Let's have a look. So we've got a storyboard, got a slide animation. We have oh, sorry. The begin, you have to tell it what to begin on if you're not setting the thing. So the begin is going to be on this page. That's what we're missing. Because you can create a storyboard and then assign it to different things. And there you go, that's a nice little slide in. So in case you missed that, I'm just going to, on the click, tell it to replay the animate in function. And again, just for the demonstration, I'm just going to do a normal event. So, you know, don't go doing this in production, use view models for things, but just for quickness to show you, I can then just do this dot animate in. If I made it public, which I thought I did. Yep, okay, I think that's just IntelliSense being delayed. That's perfectly fine. Yep. So if I click this again, it should start again. And there you go. So that's like your animate in, but we've done this in code behind. And it's okay to do animations in code behind, like we've done here, you know, manually creating code. All the times I've been saying do not do code behind. If you remember, I basically said don't do it unless it's for animation, unless it's for UI, and only then if you can't accomplish the same thing with you know, like XAML. And in this instance, because the logic of animating a page in and changing the properties and everything else, and the way that we're then going to animate a page out, wait for it to finish, and then animate a page in, it starts becoming quite logic intensive. XAML is not that good at logic. That's why we have view models in the first place. So because this is pure UI, we're only doing UI stuff in the back end, we're animating. It's perfectly fine to put it in the back end. So that's that. We've got the animation started, so now let's just, actually we'll keep that click on, and this time on the click we will animate out. So this is really annoying that the IntelliSense hasn't kicked in yet. Let's just try and clean and get this, realizing it's okay. Code behind, there we go. Oh no, never mind. Anyway, we'll work without IntelliSense for now. So we've done the animate in. Let's actually move this now to the helper class I was talking about. So in animation, create a new class. We'll call it Storyboard Helpers. And we also need to add the fade in as well as that slide. So we'll do that now when we do this helper class. So we do a public class static animation helpers for storyboards, which will become apparent in a moment. Then we'll do public static void. We want to do the add slide from right, and we want to do this storyboard so that we can just use the helper function storyboard dot add slide from right. We'll need the seconds. Float's accurate enough. We'll want the offset in terms of, you know, how far from the right do you want to start from. We'll need the deceleration. Well, we don't need it, so we'll make this optional. Yeah, I'll get it right in a minute. We'll default that to what we know. Adds a slide and fade in animation to the storyboard. Time the animation will take, the distance to the right to start from, and the rate of deceleration. And then we've already done this code. This is already in the function here, so let's just cut all this out. We don't need the begin either, so that goes there. We then want to we need the storyboard. In fact, let's make a helper function for this as well. So I'll make a function here for in fact, no, we won't do helpers, we'll do animation helpers. And this is going to just be a short function, which will be, what shall we call it? Slide and fade in from right. And in fact, no, we'll do a helper class for this because we don't want it all. Don't want it all inside this in this base page because it's going to get quite big with animations. So we've got a page animation type. We'll then do page animations, which is going to just be, again, a pure helper class, but somewhere we can just move out the animations because it's going to get quite large as you want to start adding multiple animations. So again, it's just a static class. Helpers to animate pages in specific ways. And then the first one we want is static. We'll be doing a task again. What's wrong with IntelliSense these days? Public static async task, slide and fade in from right. We want this page. Is this going to work yet? There we go. And then we need just the number of seconds. Well, float seconds. And finally, we'll paste the code we had in here. So this wants to do the whole thing. It wants to slide in and fade. So we need the storyboard creating. We want then to add. We've got a storyboard helper we're doing that will add the slide animation, slide from right. So we're really splitting this up into as modular as we can be. So we just create the storyboard. We then do storyboard, and we should have the helper, add slide from right. The number of seconds we've passed in. The offset is going to be the page's window width. And the deceleration ratio we'll leave as default. So we pass that information through. So create the storyboard. And hopefully all you can see I'm doing here is separating the code we had and splitting it up into nice small sections. So the storyboard helpers can work on just storyboards to add slide effects to any storyboard. So we can use that anywhere in the application. Then the page animations can be used on any page, even if it's not a base page then. So you can just animate a regular page for any reason. And that just then creates the storyboard calls the storyboard helper to add specific animations, and then we'll use that in the base page. So we're just really keeping it all separated, making it modular so that it's as reusable as possible. So add slide from right animation. Paste this bit in. We've got the storyboard, so we create the animation. Let's just call this animation. The duration we need, time spans there, and instead of this dot slide seconds, it's just seconds. There's not this dot window width now, it's the offset we've passed in, and then minus offset. 2 there. Deceleration is deceleration ratio. So now create the margin animate from right. Set the target property name. Add this to the storyboard, which just changes to the storyboard. And that's it. That's all we need to do for that little animation. So then we add it to there. We've got the storyboard. We've now added it to the storyboard itself. And then because we're doing this, we actually want to do that begin thing. So we just want to do storyboard.begin, and we want to do it on the page. And then we want to make the page visible. Again, we'll remove that and see if it's smart enough to find it. There we go. So start animating, make page visible, wait for it to finish. So we just do await task.delay, seconds times 1000, and cast it to an integer. And that's that. So it's exactly the same as what we've already done. We've just moved it all around. So now we've got a page helper called slide and fade in from right. We still haven't done the fade yet, but we've moved everything out now. So now the base page can become, that's done, unloaded animate in, return if we've got nothing, otherwise that goes, that's done, that's done. So basically now all this comes down to, if we want to slide and fade in from right, you can do this dot slide fade from right, and all you're going to provide is the seconds, which is provided in the property, and everything else then passes down, and we await that. So it looks really nice and clean then in your base page. You're not all doing animations in the base page. So start the animation. So if we then just stepped into that with F12, you'd see that just goes to the page animations class, using the page we just specified, creates a storyboard, adds the slide from right to from the storyboard helpers, and then begins it, makes the page visible, and waits it. So everything we had before is now just in different classes. So let's check that still works. So that still works, which is good. Let's now do the fade in. So to do the fade in, let's go into the page helper. We've got add slide from right. So we probably want to do now add fade in animation, and then we'll call this add fade in, and all we need for that is seconds. Then we'll go to the storyboard helpers, we'll copy and paste this, adds a fade in animation, oh there's the wrong description, adds a slide from right animation, adds a fade in animation. So the bit animate, the time it'll take to animate, we don't have offset, we don't have deceleration. So there you go. We just got seconds. This is now called add fade in. The animation is now going to be a double, because it's a single value. Double animation. Double animations will just have duration. No, they won't. They'll have to and from still. It's just that they'll be, when you're fading in, you're going from 0 to 1. So that's the opacity, from completely invisible to fully visible. And then that's going to be the opacity property. Then we add it. So that's it. That's all we've had to do. So now we've added a slide in. We also add a fade in. So if we play this, we might have to slow it down to see. So let's actually do that to start with. Let's go to the base page. Change this to 5 seconds. So you see it happening nice and slowly. And you can see that it slides in and fades in. So if we change that back to normal, and you can tweak whatever settings you like about this to make it, you know, how you want it to appear. So there's a nice little, you know, a simple animation, and then we've got the little hover. It just starts making it feel a lot nicer. So that is the slide in and fade from right. We might as well go to the storyboard helpers and do the reverses of these. So we'll copy and paste the fade in, and we'll call one fade out. The fade out animation, add fade out. Storyboard to animate, blah blah blah, and this time just reverse these two from fully visible to invisible. That's that done. Same with this, very similar. Copy and paste. Okay, mess up all my comments. Visual Studio, thank you. Slide to left animation. Everything stays the same there. Be easier to just rename. Actually, no, we're going from 0 to, and this time we want it the opposite. We want the negative and the positive inverting. So it then offsets the left margin all the way out to the screen, and the right pushed all the way over, so it slides out. And that's that. That's as simple as that is. That's now the two new animations. That's the storyboard helpers done. On the click, we'll now want to animate out, which I don't think we've made yet, but that's what it's going to be called. Page animations next, stepping up the structure. Oh, we haven't commented this. Slides a page in from the right. Page to animate. Animation will take. Copy and paste that. Slides a page out to the left. Slide and fade out to left. Storyboard, add slide to left, add fade out, begin, everything else is the same. That's it for that. And then the base page, we now want a public async task animate out. Animates the page out. Keep the comments the same. Again, similar logic, copy and paste. If there's nothing to do, return, otherwise find it. And this time we want to handle the slide out to left, which by default we set here. Slide out to left on the unload. And then we just change the helper to slide and fade out to left, and that's it. So now the animate out should animate us out. The button click should call that. So if we just run this, it should slide in, and then when we click the button, it should slide out. Or not. So let's debug that. Step in. Oh, load animation. So is the danger of copy and pasting. Make sure you pay a bit more attention. I've got a cold, so that's my excuse today. Copy and paste. Slides in, click. Yeah, we know we hit that. And now we've missed the slide out because of the breakpoint. Let's do that again. Slide in, click, slide out. So that's quite cool. And then you'll notice if we make the screen bigger. So one thing you've got to bear in mind as well is at the point of starting the animation, so when we do an animate out or an animate in, so the animate in's a better example, and we call the helper to slide in, and we add this slide from right at this point in time, we're then going to query the, where are we? No, up here, where I was. We're going to be querying the page width, the window width at this point. So when you start the animation, if you started a really slow animation, which in fact I'll just show you, it's easier. So let's make a really, really slow animate in. So let's make it last, I don't know, 20 seconds. I'm going to run this, and then I'm instantly going to maximize the window, because what's going to happen is when the window's loaded, we then start animating from the right, but we animate from the size of the window. So if the window is sort of this size, say here, this white window, we are going to start, and effectively our page is just here on the edge. It's almost like the Solution Explorer, and it then drags in, because we offset it by the window width at that point in time. So if we open the window, start animating in, the page is here, then we double click and maximize the window, you're going to see that it's already, you know, if the window's bigger, you'll see it animating in. So you'll see what I mean. So you just got to bear that in mind with the way we're doing this animation. So it starts, maximize, and you can see it's already here. It was already at the edge of the window because we told it where to start animating from. So that's one thing to bear in mind, but typically animations are very short and they're just more of a visual appeal. So it doesn't matter about it being absolutely perfect in terms of if somebody opened it up and then instantly expanded, they might see that it's already started to move in. You know, it's just really isn't an issue, but just bear that in mind that when we start the animation, at this point we are reading the window width, and the window can be resized at any point in time. So if you do future animations, if you're using things like window widths and it's a specific animation or a repeating animation, you might want to handle the window resize to keep track of, you know, the true size of the window. So that's the animations done. That's kind of the point of this video. I wanted to keep it short. Like I say, I've got a cold. I don't want to talk too much. I'll lose my voice again. We've got the slide in. We've got the slide out. We're doing that just on... The slide in's fine. That can happen on load. But the slide out, we want to change from just being a button click to being in the actual window. Not Windows style. The actual window. Main window. So we want it to happen on all pages and whenever we are changing this frame, which is where the page is, the current page gets bound. So what we're going to have to do in the next video is when the current page changes in the view model, we'll have a value converter for that application page. And here, where we then just go right, return a new page, that's going to change the frame's content here to the new frame. We don't actually want that. We want to first animate out the current page, then we want to return. So this is going to become an asynchronous converter that when it gets called, we get the old value from somewhere, somehow, and then we'll animate out the old page, and then when it's finished, after awaiting, we'll then return the new page, which then will fire the onload, which will slide it in. So then this animation will happen naturally. The previous page will, you know, animate out, the other one will animate in. We could do it another way and actually have this returning instantly, but the old page being on a separate frame. So we've got two frames and have one animating out and the other animating in, and the other self removes. We'll figure that out in the next video, but we'll get it so that it's more universal through the application. There's no manual changing of page animations. We shouldn't have to fire them off. In the background, yes, this animate in will, but then the animate out we want to get called from the view model when the content changes. So this will become, you know, fired via a view model. So hopefully that gives you a good example of animations. We'll be using a lot more throughout the application, so I'm not really going to do another specific animation video unless it's requested, because we're going to go and, you know, we're going to start adding animations everywhere as we go. So you'll get to use them, get a feel for them anyway. But hopefully this has given you a little understanding of a few ways of being able to do it. So we've done it in a style in one way, and done the storyboard inside of an event trigger, and then we've created some in the background code and just manually set them up the same way, and, you know, done the attach property this way. So let me know what you think. Any comments, just obviously leave them and I'll answer them. Anything confusing, again, just comment and I'll reply. Thanks.